Hi, this is Stephanie Gilbert with Ergoprise. Today let's talk about ergonomic chairs. I want to take the mystery out of finding the right chair no matter where you purchase one. There's some very basic yet important components that we want to look for when we are outfitting a chair. We're going to just discover proper seat height, back angle, seat depth, arm height, arm width adjustments, just to name a few. We're going to go into a greater detail when we talk about each of these functions. I'll see you in a few. Specific areas of the spine need to be addressed when you are considering your chair, and that would encompass lumbar support, thoracic support, or even a hybrid of the two. So please don't be fooled when you will be looking at a chair that says just has great lumbar. Once again, if it doesn't address the area or if the adjustment isn't particularly active, it may not work. And that's why we specialize in finding the right chair for the right person and the right fit. So I wanted to just quickly show you how this particular chair, which is the all-seating U2 chair, has an amazing adjustable lumbar. I'm going to just take the handle that's below on the bottom part of the back, and now I'm going to turn it away from my body. And I know it's a little hard to see, but what's happening is that the lumbar is being activated, and then the back of the chair is actually even lifting, and you could feel it hug your lumbar very, very specifically. And this chair is the RFM Carmel series chair, and why we also really enjoy using this chair and specifying this chair is that it has a very pronounced lumbar, but also addresses the thoracic needs for folks that that need their shoulders to go back because of over thoracic use from computer devices. But we're here to help and help you find the right chair. So seat height adjustment is a very easy thing to do and a very important thing to do, because if you are seated in a chair that is either too tall or too short for you, you can potentially become injured. So what we always want to remember when we're sitting in our chair is that we want our feet firmly planted on the ground. Now, if you are more of a petite individual and your feet cannot touch the ground, then you should use some sort of articulating footrest. Now, you're probably saying, well, why should I even worry about that? Let me show you why. So if I'm in a chair and that's too tall for me, or perhaps doesn't even have height adjustment, and you see that my feet are dangling like this, you think, oh, that's not so bad. But if I am in this position for several hours at a time, what can happen is I can potentially develop issues with poor circulation because my feet are dangling in the air. So one of the things that when you are looking at a chair is you got to make sure that there is seat height. Now, if you are on the opposite spectrum, say somebody who is quite tall, and you are adjusting the seat and it doesn't go tall enough for you, then you definitely want to look at a chair that you can utilize a taller cylinder. And the better the made chair, you'll have those opportunities to have a cylinder that would be appropriate for your height. Now, just to quickly show you how to adjust the seat height on a chair. Now, it will vary from manufacturer depending on the mechanism, but for this particular chair, I'm just going to lift the middle panel all the way up, and as you can see now, the seat's at its lowest position. This might be just a little too low for me, so now I'm just going to also, once again, put my hand on that middle panel, lift it up, and I'm just going to stand up too. I find it easier to do so, and now I've adjusted the chair to where it feels correct for me. A seat depth adjuster or a seat slider is by far one of the most critical aspects to the adjustments of a chair. And quite often, it's not available on chairs that are purchased from a big box store. So let's explain why you want to have the seat depth adjustment in a chair. So if I'm sitting in a chair and my knees are touching the front of the chair, there can be several problems with that. A, it's uncomfortable. B, it's contact stress. And C, it will cut off the circulation. Now conversely, if I'm sitting in a chair and I have too much distance between the back of my knee and the front of the chair, what happens is, and I know it's a little hard to see with my blouse, but the low portion of my back, probably my mid-lumbar to my sacral area, is not having any contact with the back of the chair. So what the seat slider or seat depth adjuster does is it gives you a better position within the chair. And you could do it two ways. You could do it while you're seated in the chair. Usually it's a lever on the opposite side of most positions of the chair. And I can do it while I'm seated. So I'm just going to lift up the lever, and now I'm just moving that seat out. And now my whole back is supported in the chair. When you sit in a chair, you want about 2 to 4 of your fingers distance between the back of the knee and the front of the chair. You can also adjust the seat depth outside of the chair, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So once again, just lift up the handle, and then you're going to just move that seat inwards and out. And obviously, when there's a body in the chair, you'll check it. But definitely must always have that seat depth adjuster. While we're seated, we don't want to be seated at a 90-degree angle for our knees. When we're keying, yes, but not for our knees. Because when our knees are above our hips while we're seated, it's going to be uncomfortable and cause spinal compression. So what you want to look for in the chair are two things. Either a chair that has the ability to change the seat angle, or a waterfall seat. So right now I'm going to show you how what it looks like to change the seat angle. Basically, you're going to lift your first paddle up, and then you're going to find the appropriate position while that handle is up, and then just lower it. So now you can see my knees are definitely below my hips. What we always like to state is pretend there's a drop of water on each of the thigh. We want that water to roll off the thighs. We don't want the water to come towards you. Alrighty, and then just now you can see how that seat just flows. Remember when I talked about that angle? And now when I'm seated in the chair, once again, my knees are definitely below my hips, and I'm quite comfortable. Height adjustment and width adjustment on an arm are crucial. If you're buying a chair that has a static arm or a conference room arm, that arm is not going to be able to move, and therefore we wouldn't recommend it. Quite often what we see in our practice with folks, that they have the arms way too high. So if I have an arm up here and I'm trying to work, first of all, it's uncomfortable, and secondly, I'm shrugging. So if your arm is too high, just lower it, and you'll feel where it is more optimal. You'll also see that now the position of my shoulder, my forearm, and my wrist are more emulating an L, or a 90-degree angle, which is the preferred typing position. But although my arm may look as if it's in the 90-degree angle, which it is, it still is too wide. So I want a chair that has arms that are width adjustable as well. Now I'm going to lock that, and now I'm still at a better position than I was before. But I still want to be able to key properly, so I'm going to adjust the arm pad. Now let's look at some other chairs as well. If you're seated in a chair and the arms are too low, you have a tendency to lean. So we want to be able to raise those arms as well. On certain chairs where the arms are connected, we are definitely going to recommend some additional articulation. So we want those arm pads now to go in as opposed to as they were before. Lastly, even on a very budget-friendly chair such as this, we still have the ability to change those arm pads and rotate them. So yes, they're may not be in the optimal position, but a lot better. And we still have the ability to raise and lower the height of the arms. Lastly, if you are petite, be careful and check to see the height range of the armrest, because even if in its lowest position it still may be too high for you, the better the made chair, you can also alternate that arm bracket and then have them go lower for you. Does your chair offer back height adjustment? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So when you are considering purchasing a chair, make sure that you have asked or read that the chair offers this very valuable component. Back height adjustment will allow the actual back of the chair to raise and lower. And by doing so, it will inevitably help the user fit his or her back to the back of the chair and have their spine supported in a much more proper way. So let me show you how to adjust a chair that offers back height adjustment. You can do it two ways. You can do it seated in or out of the chair. If you are experiencing discomfort, you might want to do it this way first. Basically, you're going to go from behind the chair, and I'm going to turn this around so you can see it, and then you're just going to put your hand at the base on each side of the chair, and then you're going to slowly lift it up. You're going to hear a series of clicks. This is what's known as a ratchet height back. It's kind of like a zipper of a sweater. When you've reached the top and you can't move it anymore, it's going to go all the way down to the bottom. If you do not have serious back issues where it is going to hurt to do so, it's very easy to do this adjustment. Once again, hands below the base of the chair. You're going to lift it up, and then just do it in small increments, and then sit back, and then make sure that the back is properly positioned to your spine. My posture is very important when I am seated. And when I'm going to be performing my work and using a keyboard, I want to be upright. Now, I don't want to be like this. And then what happens with a lot of chairs, if I am seated and I am using a keyboard tray, and I'm seated like this, I'm now losing support for the back of the chair. So with back angle adjustment, my back will be supported. So I'm going to turn around and show you what I mean. So right now, I'd be too far. And then here, I'm not getting that support. So all I'm going to do is take my hand with the furthest paddle in the back of the mechanism. I'm going to lift it up, and now you see how the back moves? Where when I get to the appropriate spot, I'm just going to move the lever downwards, and now my back is supported.